Okay, so we've just finished working on class notes, page E12 and E13, area of composite shapes. And now it's on to your homework, or since you're at home most of the time now, let's call it your independent work. It's 13-4, and I'm going to set up the problems with you, help you set them up, but then let you loose to do them on your own. And I want to remind you, and I have these here to just kind of reveal them one by one. There is not room to do it on this page. You maybe could find room on the back of this paper, or do them on separate paper, because it really is important that you set them up algebraically, starting with the formula at the top, and having equal signs lined up all the way going down. So, what was I going to say? Anyhow, that is it. So let us go on. Let's start with number 1. Okay, so this little friend here, you could do a square plus that triangle, or, and I turn this sideways so you could really see it, you could do a trapezoid. So this is a trapezoid, and if it were a trapezoid, this is one base, and this is the other base. So you have a base of 2, and this base down here, if that's 2, that means this needs to be 2, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So you've got a base of 2 and a base of 3 and a height of 2. And you can see the trapezoid formula. But again, though, if you would like to do a square and add it to that triangle, it is completely up to you. Your choice. Okay, number 2. You know, I do have this preference for doing a whole big rectangle and subtracting out that negative space, but this one just seemed to really lend itself to just, you know, figuring out that little square and that little rectangle and adding them together. So if you want to do the way I would do it for this one, go ahead and do it that way. Number 3. Oh, and I'm going kind of fast, but you can just pause on any of these. Number 3. You've got a rectangle plus a parallelogram. This is a parallelogram, and one way you could think of them, I've told people this before and it seems to help. If you could think of it with, if it's a rectangle that's sort of like melted in the sun, it's sort of, let's do it with something that's not my fingers here. So it's sort of just sort of like melted sideways. That doesn't really help. Anywho, if you could just picture it melting over. This length is 4, that length is 4, this length is 4, because it is this thing just, you know, this goes over to the side and that goes over to the side. Okay, enough said. Parallelogram plus a rectangle on that one. This one, you've got 2 triangles. I'm not convinced this is a polygon, because this seems to be 2 separate shapes to me joined by a tiny point there. But let's just go along and think that it is a polygon, in which case you've got 2 identical triangles. So you could just figure out the area of one and multiply it by 2. It's completely up to you. If you want to just figure out 2 triangles and add them together, you could do that too. Okay, so number 5 is a lot like number 3. This almost kind of, I don't know, like to you, but to me it looks sort of like a laptop with the screen opened up. I don't know. But if you look at it this way, it might be easier to see that this is your square and that's your parallelogram. And again, if that's 4, that means that's 4. And it says it right there, that's 4. And your height of 2 on that parallelogram. Number 6. Rectangle plus rectangle. And I guess you could, same thing on this, you could make it into a big rectangle and subtract that negative space if you want to do it that way. Okay, these last 2 word problems, let's slide down the directions a little bit. So every year I have students on these miss the word about, so it's on both of these little word problems. So I underlined it and then reminded you that about means that you can estimate. And when you estimate, make friendly numbers. That these numbers aren't friendly. So you have the opportunity to make them friendly, you should. Okay, so this is the state of Nevada. And it comes with some kind of unfriendly numbers. So 320, much friendlier is 300. And from here to here is 190, much friendlier is 200. So if that's 300, then that's 300. And then down here, this little bit was 305, but it's also got this section from here to here, which, I don't know, guesstimated and turned it into 350. So 350 from here to here. So I would probably, the way I've shaded this up, do rectangle plus triangle. I mean, you could argue, well, you know, it does have elements to be a trapezoid. If you want to do base 1 plus base 2 plus height, it's up to you. Key things, though, is our friendly word about your estimating. But you can't be wildly estimating. You have to have the numbers, you know, within reason. So if you want to pause there and take those notes down, you can. And this last one, this is Oklahoma. Okay, so they're saying that they would divide it into 2 perfect rectangles and a triangle. And I'm sort of thinking, why? Why can't you just make it into 1 rectangle? I'm not sure. Okay, so let's look first at this little section. This little section is just what it is, right? That is literally the panhandle of Oklahoma. If Oklahoma were a pan here, that's the handle you'd hold it by. It's the handle of the pan. It's 40 by 160, so that part is all set. And if you're doing this rectangle plus rectangle, yeah, they're saying a triangle. I'm not sure I would do it that way. So I would do like this. And if they're saying this whole thing from here to here is 440, and that's 160. Let's see, 160 plus 400, that's 560. So let's make this one 300. That's more reasonable. So 300 plus 160 is 460. That's close enough to 440. And that will get us into a reasonable range. And then the distance from here to here, that was 240. From here to here. Actually, let's just call that 240. Why not? Let's just leave that as 240. So 240, the entire distance from here to here, and 300. So you've got the little green rectangle added to here. And what could be friendlier than using your calculator, which you will be using on this. I hope these make your homework easier and it makes sense. If you have any questions on anything during this, well, in general, but also especially during distance learning, please don't hesitate to loop mail me. Loop mail me through School Loop. It has a place where you can just send a loop mail directly to me and I get those right away. Okay, take care.